people are going to wonder this. What do you consume post workout? Because people think they need to have fast absorbing whey or EAAs or whatnot. What do you consume pre and post workout to get your nutrition in, essentially?
Dinner, dinner, chicken, fish. That's it. I don't believe in the window after. And again, it got to a point where I had to stop taking notes. I took notes of every meal that I ate from the time I started bodybuilding at 14. When I stopped taking notes, somewhere around like 26, 27 or so. That's a lot of notes. Notepads after notepad after notepad. And again, I'm all about testing. I couldn't care less what the knowledge base is. If it's not repeatable in real life, it's conjecture. And that's the thing too about science. Science is not about a study finds this. Science doesn't find anything. What it does, it creates a theory. Okay, we did this particular experiment and this is the result. So we want everyone to go out there and repeat it and make sure that under every circumstance, the result is the same. That's what science is. In bodybuilding, there's zero science, none of it. It's all about, well, this way of training. This study found gains from this way of training. So everybody all of a sudden starts training one way. Then this study finds that training this way is beneficial. Everyone goes on that side of the ship. And this person wins Mr. Olympia and he trains high intensity. So everyone goes to high intensity. And it's really, nothing is really evidence based in there. And even the studies themselves, they tend to be, number one, with beginners. And you're going to get ridiculous results with beginners. And then number two, how do you know in the study everybody was natural? They don't drug test people for studies in bodybuilding. So how could you even possibly do that? I mean, my 14-year-old made a joke when I was taking some Claritin for my allergies. He's like, "Oh, what's that you taking? Tren?" And I was like, "How do you know what Tren is?" He's like, "Oh yeah, Tren. That's the drug. That's the drug everyone uses." He's 14. This is where it is. This is really where it is. So whenever someone looks at a study of 6 people, number one, even again, science-based, a study of 12 people or 6 people, that's not science. That's stupidity. That's ridiculous. How many thousand people do you have in the study? How many years were there? Oh, for 3 months, we found this in a study. For 3 months, I could find lots of things that will give me gains. Is it going to give me gains a year later, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years? We don't really have that in bodybuilding. And that's the problem because it's so focused on what's trendy and trying to figure out what's going to make the most in terms of profit, what's going to be the most in terms of popularity. That the bottom line of what it takes to be successful as a natural bodybuilder, if you do not have outstanding genetics, because some people out there, I remember growing up in Trinidad too, watching guys and women who were born with muscles and just wishing that my parents were their parents instead. For the average person out there, we're talking about 99.999% of the population. We're talking years of really hard work and uncompromising attention to your diet. The difference between someone who is 100% on their diet and 95% on their diet is astronomical. It's on a bodybuilding stage, it's the guy who came first versus the guy who came 10th. It's that big. And we don't talk about that because we're so focused on, the fads and the fads. And, my way of training is one way of training that I have been able to prove with hundreds of people over the past 30 years. But there are more ways, but no one's really looking at it. All they're trying to look at is trying to emulate what someone else is doing. And my whole idea is, even if you see how I train, high intensity, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 times a week, yes, it is effective. But what I want you to do is to go out there and prove it wrong. I want you to go out there and help me with my research, my trying to find a way to make things better, to improve. It's not, Kevin is the guru and the Noah. There's no knowing all when it comes to anything. We're all trying to understand this very complex thing that is muscle growth. It's mysterious to a degree. It can't be put into simple science because there's a behavioral aspect to it. Is someone going to do the training? How do you measure training intensity objectively? How do you do that? It's not that easy. How do you measure proper eating? It's so much out there, and there's so many different body types and different responses to training and genetic components that we need to be more science-based, because I think it would allow people to not be swayed by all the nonsense out there. And unfortunately, there's a lot. Every time an actor goes from looking like a regular guy to bigger than I am and more cut than I am in the course of 6 months, and they talk about, oh well, I ate chicken breast and I trained every day, it erodes that idea of what really needs to be done, which is years and years and years, and that drug use is real.
That sparked a thought for me because you were talking about the science thing. And I just want to inject this one thought where, and to add to your point, with respects to, say you did have 10 or 20 people in a group, sensation is a big thing too. Because if you ask the 10 or 20 people, hey, where did you feel that with that exercise? You might get 10 or 20 different responses, right? So, and that's something that can't really be
Yes.
measured. So yeah, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, which
Yeah. It's
you know, it's
impossible.
fascinating. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
So, but I would love if you could break down just a sample of your nutrition. I think that would be interesting because you mentioned the 95% person who's 95% on point versus the person who is really doing everything in their power to optimize their
Mhm.
nutrition. How does yours look? And can you give a sample, just a day,
Sure.
from morning till?
It's the same all the time. It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same. It's the same in terms of variation. I eat based on what I'm doing for the day. So on days where I'm going to be on a training day, I'll have slightly more carbohydrates, and on a non-training day, I'll have slightly less carbohydrates and more protein. That's really it. Breakfast for me is oat bran cereal. I have that every single day. Again, the amount will depend on whether I'm working out that day or not. On a training day, I'll have a little more. On non-training day, I have a little bit less. On the weekends, depending on if it's like a Sunday, not any other, I'm not going to be doing that much. Or a day where I know I'm not going to be doing that much, I'll take it down a little bit. I'll have maybe 7 egg whites with that. That's breakfast. I used to have a grapefruit with that all the time, but I don't eat grapefruits that much anymore. Lunch is 2 chicken breasts and Japanese yams.
I love those.
I have Japanese yams.
Those are the white ones. Are those the ones, the white potato, but it's super sweet?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
those are amazing. I love those.
I have those. I really love those Japanese yams. Back in Trinidad, I forget what we call it back in Trinidad, but I grew up eating that in Trinidad. So it was something I found. I was like, this is what we grew up eating. Yes.
Yes.
This is what I stick
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
I
My favorite
have that.
potato.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah,
Absolute best. Absolute best. Absolute best.
agreed.
No stomach problems either. It goes down easy.
Yes.
High glycemic index, high fiber, and after that, it's going to be have a serving of fish. Try to have a serving of fish just about every day. I may have some popcorn if I feel snacky at the end of the day. That's it.
No supplements really in terms of protein supplements, carbohydrate supplements that people will drink post workout.
No. I've never had a pre-workout. That's the other thing too. I've never had a pre-workout drink or pre-workout anything. I don't really understand it. To me, your mental game has to be so laser focused. And if I'm going to train, I'll start preparing the second I realize I have to train. And sometimes I don't have that much time. You're busy, I have my own company, a lot of things I have to do. Second I realize I have to go train, there's something mentally I have to start doing. There's this routine